feeling that's going to come out between Badger and Darren. Oftentimes, you would probably see Badger with, maybe a Mercy here, but I think they're going to be, feeling like there's going to be a dive, and the Mercy might be a little bit too susceptible to that. So the Lucio is a lot more of a safe pick, I would say, for this map here.
But compared to something like a Zenyatta, I still think it might be somewhat of a lesser pick overall. Even the Ana having a good time countering the dive composition that could come out, and it's going to be the case for last night's leftovers. So we'll see whether or not they can make it work. Because on the other side, are they setting up with Anhu on the Orisa? We'll look to Iron to potentially get those hooks to enable his team with these early kills. But Reach is going to drop low. We'll have the Swift Strike to dash away.
It looks like last night's leftovers looking for the opportunity to jump in, looking for an opening. Decod tries to make one of his own, going to be met with a ton of grenade pressure from Squala.
And the hook did come through onto the Tracer. However, unable to secure the kill means that it's still going to be Sinker in the end. Getting one onto Decod, and with that first blood secured here for this lineup of full send, we will eventually have the rest of the offensive side look to regroup for now, as Dummy's gonna also drop pretty low Reach on top of that too. Only Kester lying in wait onto the side. Will it get spotted? Used in combination with the halt will be the kill secured in the end, but overall definitely not looking too hot right now for last night's leftovers.
Reach getting closer to that blade though, and as they get the support ult, still have that opportunity to back up the push that Decod likes to go aggressive with on the Winston. They're going to dive in once again, jumping right on top of it. Pulse Bomb comes out, and it does secure a first kill.
And with the Transcendence at the ready, means that the rest of his team is going to be able to stay safe. Sound Barrier prompted out of the offensive side too, so no support ultimates left, but overall Pulse Bomb is going to be available. Gets the D-suit, however, Kevster in the meantime gets the best out of Sinker, and overall still looking good for last night's leftovers, as Decod is going to get another kill onto the Lucid this time. Even Ajax claiming one of his own, and in the end it will be last night's leftovers finding the space they need in order to push that payload into the second phase with 4 minutes and 27 seconds left.
And Reach with the blade, he held on to it, so they have it for this next fight. Kevster will have a Pulse Bomb up soon. It's what got the ball rolling for them on the first point. If he can be efficient with those and consistent with them, then they can just kind of play off of the 2 DPS here, making all the room for them to start off.
Oh, but already the blade is going to come out. Reach finding that kill onto the Zenyatta is going to look for more, but no, it's going to be Sinker. In the meantime, getting another kill, but overall kill feed still favoring the side of last night's leftovers, as Iron will be desuited, will be going down. Even Sinker looking to stall things out, will eventually be found out by Kevster. And once again, the payload will be on its way towards that next point. 3 minutes, 40 seconds left. And only Badger will have an ultimate insight here for the side of Full Send.
Darren with a lot of space now, going to be able to put out a lot of damage instantly to Ajax. They're going to jump right on top of it. He boops Anu up, so he's not able to find the kill and solidify it. But Kevster, in the meantime, is in the back line. He's already taken Darren out. Now he's putting pressure onto Anu, who doesn't have that extra bit of support now, as we see the D-Mech of Iron.
And Reach now claiming another kill of his own. We'll look for more, as Decod in the meantime is going to get a kill secured onto Badger. And with the Transcendence coming in a little late, not quite sure if it was necessary there, but it will at the very least secure the team fight for the side of last night's leftovers. One more potential contest might be coming out, but no, it's not going to be the case. Not quite in time. Kester even getting a kill onto Badger there. They will look to regroup, and with this far forward push, things are definitely looking very disastrous right now for Full Send.
We'll see the blade ready for a Reach once again. They'll have the beat to back it up, and last night's leftovers looking like the version that we've been seeing on that upward trend. They had just that kind of stumble yesterday, but now, I mean, with only missing that one beat, it seems like they're right back into it.
And we'll see if they can keep it up, as Darren Echo get to go with the Transcendence and a Blade for Squala. It's still going to make things difficult for them. So we'll see Anhu dropping down. Blade is going to come in from both sides, but who will win out and disengage, as it will see Reach get the D-suit. Decod actually getting Squalla, and even though the pulse bomb is going to D-suit N64, is going to have another one available with the use of that self-destruct, even getting the kill onto the Tracer there. And all of a sudden, once again, it will be the team fight win for last night's Leftovers, as the execution and coordination was definitely much better on their end. And with that payload getting close to that final objective with 3 minutes left on the clock, this is going to be very difficult for the defensive side. Nobody able to get on the point. At the very least, though, Iron did get to eat up that pulse bomb. Now we'll stall things around with the self-destruct as he does get the D-suit onto N64. And with it, push the other side away. But as I say that, Dummy now committing the Transcendence. The rest of his team still looking for kills. It will be Kester fragging out, getting 2 kills of his own. Still looking for more. Dummy coming out of the Transcendence will find one on top of that to Anahu. And it does look like they might still do it. Sinker, though, stalling. They will look to get onto the point. The boop is going to be there, but not quite good enough. Kester getting that triple there. And with it, it will be last night's Leftovers claiming that 3rd checkpoint too.
So much space created by Decod. Dummy came through in a big way with the Transcendence as well. They regained their footing, and they just went from there. Kevster on the Tracer was able to clean up some of those kills. So, I mean, honestly, that was just full snowball throughout the map after capping out that first point, where we saw Kevster and Reach just going with their different ultimates between the Tracer and the Genji to just push through as Decod made all the space, and Dummy really just had to sit there and throw out discords and just watch as everything fell and crumbled before him, and looked really good for them. I mean, Transcendences were spot on. We saw some good stuff from Ajax as well. Last night's Leftovers, some of the issues that we saw that led to their demise, you know, yesterday to getting into the lower bracket. And even from what we saw in the beginning of the group stage, where we saw some of those issues with coordination, I mean, a lot of that seems to have been shored up here. I mean, this might be all in isolation. This might, you know, just be this one instance, or they might have made those adjustments and they might be back here and just one day looking a lot better as a team.
I see you, Ajax. I know you're not going to stick with it. Just teasing us with the Torbjorn. Would be interesting to note. See him on this first point defense, but without the likes of an Orisa, I doubt see that anyway. As Torbjorn, at the very least, yesterday for Kungarna, saw a little bit of play with the likes of Symmetra for the first time. So Kungarna winning our hearts with that one, maybe on Hanamura with that desperate final attempt, winning one team fight off of Fusion University. But more importantly, now on this side, it will see Reach on the Soldiers, so looking to counter that dive coming out of the other side. We'll see whether or not they will be successful, as Ajax will indeed make the swap over to Lucio.
3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming.
We see them coming back in. Dive, ready for the attacking team. Squalla on the Genji. And they really need to put some pressure onto Reach, force him back so that he doesn't have a ton of space to work with on this Soldier. If they give him that away and he can just fall back onto the staircase, play with that small health pack with Dummy, you know, they're going to have a massive struggle trying to deal with the Soldier 76, especially as he starts getting some tack visors, especially as Dummy can generate up some Transcendences.
And we'll see now. They will commit for the dive. Maybe finding a cooldown use, as Squall is going to be able to get both supports with a double. Opening things up here will be Reach still in the end, returning fire, but overall things looking very good now for Full Send, as they will look to get those final few kills and potentially claim this first objective with 2 ticks already on the board. Nobody inside to really contest, as Reach might go back in with the likes of Decod, but no, they're going to opt in to just give that one up and look to potentially have a better time in the second phase instead.
Very quick take from them. Going forward, I expect that they'll try to take high ground control, because as we see some swaps, I mean, Kevster and Reach both on hit scan. They're looking to try to play the distance game, and Sinker will get the better end of the deal, at least the first time here. And we saw this exact same thing where Kevster just wasn't able to win out on these duels. You have to wonder if that's going to continue now.
So we'll see N64 dive right in with Decod, claiming 1 kill, but that seems to be it for them, as overall still going to be Sinker getting the best end of that deal, and even Reach popping that attack visor late. He's gonna go down to his own ultimate, and with it, things are looking much worse for wear here for the side of last night's Leftovers in terms of their defensive side. But you have to imagine Reach just opting in to use that one for the reset, wanting to do it as fast as possible. Will be on the Genji. but with ultimates available on the offensive side here for Fulsen, things are still looking good, especially since Kevster might still retaliate, so not anymore, not as much as I expected.
And they swap Reach over too, so they can put some extra pressure onto Sinker, and if they can force him out, they can take the duel, but Kevster won't even need it. Stepping up in a big way for them this time, putting pressure on the Darren Echo as well. They're going to be backed up, forced to, as Kevster really came through for them. And on the Widow, really hitting some good shots, something that we didn't see him, you know, able to pull off as much yesterday. Kind of struggled with it, actually.
But at the very least here, for the offensive team, they have 5 ultimates at the ready, even using that infra side on both sides to scout out their opponents, looking for that high ground advantage. Blade will soon enough be available for the side of Reach, as he's going to be extremely close to that one, 97%. We'll see even Ajax potentially get his sound barrier up, and with those 2 support ultimates, look to still get an advantageous fight coming up here.
Ooh, Badger coming through and gonna start the fight off. I mean, Sinker lands a nice shot onto Reach, so now they just don't have that extra ability. But Kevster, a headshot onto Sinker. He gets high ground control. Now they're forced to jump up and try to deal with him, as last night's leftovers looking to try to consolidate, try to come back into this one, as Reach will come back from respawn. Ajax does have his sound barrier if they need it, but I don't think they should.
Decod gets 2 kills and somehow still gets away with a sliver of health available. We'll have the healing coming out of Ajax and Dummy, mostly Dummy, on the Zenyatta, and as a result, finally, last night's leftovers get a good defensive stall. Was a questionable Blade coming out of Reach. I definitely don't like the use of that one, and he popped it with 50% HP or even less, so it was bound to not really go too well for him, but Sinker will be sticking to that Widowmaker, whereas Kevster now on to the Tracer.
Now we see Reach looking for redemption from that last Blade, as he's at around 50%, but they're going to focus a lot of pressure on him very early on, along with Decod, who dives in aggressively, will be answered, or met rather, by Darren Neko. Kevster finishes the job, but they still are down their main tank.
But that was a big pick because the Transcendence is out of the question, and with Reach getting another kill, this time onto Anhu, will be that front line also out of the picture here. And last night's leftovers, even though they do lose that Winston, it will overall still be a fight favoring their end. And as you said, Reach now looking for that Blade and for that redemption. Will have potentially both support ultimates to assure that does go through.
And we'll see Iron going forward as well. And they've been stuck here for quite some time. Aggression again from Decod as he jumps forward. Ajax will back him up with the sound barrier, and they still have the fallback of the Transcendence to meet the Blade as well.
Oh no, Sinker gets Reach there again. Not a successful Blade on that end, but it's overall still a 1-for-1 trade. Both Genjis going down. Self-destruct will be used. We'll see the pulse bomb actually claim a double kill. Kevster definitely stepping it up on that Tracer. Will be able to do a lot of work for his team. And with 1 minute and 11 seconds remaining, now if you are Fulsen, you're under a lot of pressure to start making things work, but it's gonna have to be off of Badger's sound barrier, whereas on the other side, both support ultimates were committed, and only the self-destruct available for N64.
Scary thing now is that even if you win this fight, you're talking about 30 seconds off the clock, pretty much just baseline, just because you have to win the fight and then push the payload the rest of the way. So about 30 seconds will be gone on top of that. So when you get into the third stage of the map, if you get there, you basically are just working with the extra time allotted, just that extra like minute and a half. So Dummy getting thrown around right now, also not, you know, a very good sign, but still for last night's leftovers, they are able to maintain, they are holding out well, and they're buying themselves time while the payload has not been moving at all.
Self-destruct will be used. Can he find the kills? It does go through. Sinker going down, very nicely angled by N64. As we will see the sound barrier finally come out from the offensive side, but with the man disadvantage, I just can't see how they can secure this, especially with Transcendence now on both ends. It will be Zenyatta's meeting halfway onto the payload. Decod dropping back in. We'll see N64 claim another kill, this time around to Iron, and with the Blade, now onto Reach. Can he secure the team fight eventually as he gets one onto Anhu? We'll look for the Lucio, secures it with the help of Decod, gets another one onto Sinker, and does seem like last night's leftovers bounced back in the second phase and claimed the first win of the series.
We've seen a lot of Genjis striking out against Lucios. you know, over and over, just whiffing. They're just so elusive, but Decod, who made a lot of space on their attack especially, you can see it here, making the defensive hold work. Again, just putting the pressure out, knocking everybody around. Good play from them so far.
Still some good showing by Fulsen. We'll see whether or not they can bring it back with the next map coming up, Hanamura.
And we are back once again at the analysis desk. I did criticize Kevster before the match, but in this one, I do believe that he delivered big time when he was not on Widow.
Most definitely. I mean, even on the Widowmaker, he definitely retaliated. He had a couple of good kills in the end on that second phase, but overall, as you said, looking much better on the Tracer.
Yeah, last night's leftovers, they had a great attack inside. I don't think you can do much better than that. They had like, what, 2:30 left on the clock? That's pretty good time. On the other hand, now I forgot the name. And you will remind me, Fulsen, exactly. Not Fulsen, yeah, Fulsen. They didn't perform that well, especially on the second point. And they couldn't get any good engagement.
Their first opening team fight win was looking stellar for them, even getting a better time compared to the opposition. However, not able to capitalize during that second phase, as you said in the past. That's where things get really interesting on Hollywood, and it seems like overall last night's leftovers stepping up, playing it really well. And I gotta also give credit to N64. He found some really good kills off of the self-destruct, and with that Matrix coming in clutch a couple of times, really secured the team fights for his team.
Now coming into Hanamura, do you think we are going to see crazy shenanigans once again? Doomfist, Torbjorn, Symmetra? Living the Overwatch life?
I don't think we'll see that again. I think it's going to be a little more standard. But there's this thing will be, I do believe NLAir is going to come in for last night's leftovers, and we will expect to see maybe a lot more McCree. Of course, will be most likely Soldier, but maybe more McCree too.
Yeah, but we've also seen Reach play Soldier on this map before, so I'm not sure. I mean, NLAir did perform well, especially on Watchpoint, when we see him play, and I don't think he played since Watchpoint.
Well, he did play that King's Row map, but yes, I don't think we've seen him ever since said map. And now, of course, being still an option for his team, we'll be curious to see whether or not he will be played. But it being Hanamura, there's a lot of options when it comes to the first point. Quad tank, maybe a Pharah, maybe a dive.
Do you believe in a comeback, Brunch?
It's possible. Fulsen had some good showing, but they need to still step it up.
Let's see what happens. Curix, take it away.
Seconds.
So with Inlair brought in, you have to imagine that they want to use Kev to just be a little bit more flexible. Right now, we see them actually displaying a double hit scan look for defense, and they do have Ajax and Dummy, you know, playing the Ana and the Zenyatta, and I think that does play into that composition a little bit as well, where they're really going to have, you know, a lot of emphasis on their backline and controlling from there, trying to keep everybody, you know, 20 to 40 meters away if they can help it.
And we'll see if they're going to be successful at it. That so far will be scouted out by their opponents in Fulsen. Did go for the full-on dive. Squall once again onto the Genji Sinker on that Tracer. We'll see Kester set up on the right-hand side. Could potentially be pretty vulnerable, but could always just drop down with the likes of Decod, holding up the shield. He's going to be able to stay safe for now. The rest of the opposing team looking to group up, but so far denied by this lineup of last night's leftovers.
But they're getting into position slowly, and they'll be able to jump down onto the point, but then it's just about trying to find someone to dive on, and with this angle that they're coming through, it's going to be tough to find someone. Probably the best option would be Inlair up on this high ground, but even then, that would be pretty difficult. So they do throw him off of that, and they do have them surrounded, but already a minute off the clock.
And we'll see whether or not they can finally start making things happen for them, as Decod is going to be able to come onto the point, contest for now. The rest of his team, Bione is going to keep him safe. However, we'll see that Discord Orb he now dropped onto the likes of Squall, but their Neko drops really low, will manage to stay alive. A lot of support ultimates being available soon enough on both sides, but it is going to be N64 with the Nano Boost. Decod somehow still alive with a sliver of health, and Elenair coming in with a kill, or rather DD-suit. It will be a 2-for-2 as the blade is at the ready for Squall, but the Transcendence on both ends will keep those teammates safe for now, as you will see a back and forth still happen onto this point. Dummy though, getting their Neko there at the end could be big. However, with Sinker still looking to contest alongside that Lucio and Iron, it will finally be hit by that Bionade. Self-destruct is going to come through, and in the end, with these final few kills, nobody on the point for the other side. It will be Fulsen claiming that first point.
That started off actually pretty well. I mean, from their supports, Ajax and Dummy really played that quite well. They had them insulated, they had them safe. I imagine they won't make swaps, at least for their supports here, but starting off to get this second point going, I imagine we're going to be seeing some aggression, because they really want to make space for Sinker to take duels with the opposing hit scan players, Inlair and Kevster. And if he can find those kills quickly, that's going to be a big advantage to play in with.
Earth Shatter, though, coming out of Decod is going to lay them flat. However, the follow-up is not quite there, and as a result, it's still going to be a kill given up in favor of the other side. And even Kevster instantly shut down by Sinker, trying to go for a Deadeye. And now I would imagine he will make a swap over to something more reminiscent of a dive comp. And then on there, looking for attack visors, not going to be too successful. Will at the very least push the opposition away. Sinker, under a lot of pressure, will be found out by that Zenyatta. And in the end, we might just finally see the defensive side make things happen, especially with Dummy getting a double kill. We'll have that Transcendence just to secure the team fight at that too.
Getting some healing there from Ajax, so they're going to secure the Nano Boost for themselves as well, and they're going to want that soon, but they want it in conjunction with Inlair's Tac Visor, ideally. Otherwise, you're going to have to throw it onto Decod, and he's just going to be creating a bunch of space for Inlair. And playing with the Soldier now, I think that they want to try to utilize this high ground, force the enemy team. They want to force Fulsen to try to dive across the point to throw that Soldier off, and then they can just counter dive on top of it. They'll have the ability to counter dive and have that advantage of that instantaneous damage output by jumping on top of them.
We'll see, however, Anu dropping pretty low because of the Discord Orb as well. Decod looking for an angle, will be met by the opposing Winston, but now under a lot of pressure will be Enelair actually going down. Decod with fall as well. Soundbear committed, so this is going to be it here for this side of Fulton, looking to get an advantage, getting that second tick soon enough. N64 actually the target of that Natterbus Bionade, hitting a lot of targets, but overall, it's still going to be Squall popping the blink, getting another kill onto Dummy, and with said double, things are looking great for the N64. Actually, with this self-destruct is going to retaliate, getting 2, and in the end, they should be able to hold this one out.
Still, I mean, just off of really good execution from Fulton to dive in like that, when there was a couple of options for last night's leftovers, they completely just nullified those threats, dove in, and they were able to secure 2 ticks for themselves, which is, I mean, really, really solid. They still get in there and get something done. They have some time left to play with. That first pick they got onto in layer, though, completely opened up the site for them. They need to get something like that again if they want to be able to get this last tick.
But the problem for them is the fact that they committed a lot of those ultimates, but they're in Echo still getting those early kills might open things up. Now that we'll see the pulse bomb go through, but unable to find the target. So will be Transcendence forced out at the very least. Dummy going in onto the point with that one. Ajax dropping really low, might be under a lot of pressure. Finally does go down, and in the end it will be in the layer, popping that attack visor, looking for something. Gets one onto the sinker, but can he get more? No, they're in Echo. He's gonna get the best off of him, as it will see him still on that high ground, still looking to claim a couple of extra kills. Going for that Discord on to Decod. Means that the Wince is gonna be under a lot of pressure, rather. We'll see Iron take down Kevster, Transcendence forced out. And as a result, their Echoes are just going to go ahead, give up that high ground advantage, go with the rest of his team, looking to claim this one. But now Island Air on the point with the Natter boost is not going to be able to find the kills. And in the end, this should go over to Pulsen as they claim kill after kill. And with 2 minutes, 2 minutes and 16 seconds left on the clock, they will be looking pretty good here on Hanamura.
Back when we saw Fulton for, I think, the first time in the group stage, I mentioned how something about this roster will speak for them. And one of the things I mentioned was Darren Echo. His ability on the flex support, particularly on the Zenyatta, is something to look out for, something to keep your eye on. But ever since then, we haven't really seen that one moment that really allowed Darren Echo to kind of shine through. And I think this might have been that moment. Both times that we saw them get something done on the second objective, it was off of the bat of just a clean right click from Darren Echo, just able to find that first opening kill where, you know, Sinker just wasn't able to find it initially. Darren Echo opened the side up for them both times and then was consistently laying out the pressure from high ground where he was completely safe. And obviously you have to give credit to the rest of his team for allowing him to be in a position like that. But even still, he was just delivering so much damage, so much consistency. And up on top, he's obviously got a great vantage point to deliver some great communication, some calls of who to look for, who to target, who's coming out of respawn, you know, what ultimates to look out for. And then when he does get jumped on, he's able to avoid a lot of that pressure, pulls the Transcendence down, and it's actually a pretty solid time for the Transcendence to come out anyways. So everything just worked out really well. And I think this was probably one of those moments where Darren Echo finally gets his moment in the spotlight.
And interestingly enough, this time around on defense, they will have Darren Echo on the Ana instead. Yeah. Badger will be picking up that Zenyatta, so interesting choice here for them. We'll see whether or not this is going to be more successful than the double hit scan we saw out of last night's leftovers, as they're going to have their go at the offensive side, now swapping over. Nothing too surprising for now. I would, of course, expect Decod eventually go to something like a Winston. This round will start after the Sonic Arrows going to be used.
I'm curious to see how they play out with Ana and Zenyatta over here on the left side. They're stuck in a room, so if they get jumped on, they won't have, you know, a point of recession. They won't be able to fall back really anywhere except for perhaps off the map. Now they start adjusting to the right, going over to the point. We'll have to see if they do wind up making any adjustments later on. As Squala comes back, Anu taking a lot of pressure as well.
So far, no real advantage gained for the offensive side. However, now looking to push in onto the point. We'll actually see Anu go back in and finding one kill of his own. First blood onto Ajax. He gets both supports before he goes down, but overall this should be an advantageous fight. The defensive side of Fulsen force the opposition to regroup, especially with Squala picking up a late kill onto LNLair. We'll look for even more potentially, but overall, Natterboost already good to go for their Echo.
Things have been coming up very slowly for last night's leftovers so far. But again, with that Genji, I mean, Kevster should be able to put pressure. Oh, Sinker with a kill! And won't be able to apply pressure now as he's dead. And it looks like even more kills coming on board for Full Send. They're looking now for the Tracer putting pressure on the point where N64 was trying to create room. Not going to happen. He's going to jump off the map as well. And 2:30 remaining. Full Send looking stellar. And you have to wonder what's going on with Last Night's Leftovers right now, because this is not looking like the same team that just ruined Full Send on Hollywood.
Especially considering so many ultimates being built up for the defensive side. Badger will look to have his own, but at the very least, with both of them stacking up here, potentially for the offensive side of Last Night's Leftovers, they might just find an angle here to make things happen, as the nano boosted blade is going to come out. Squala, though, unable to find the targets. Transcendence already popped by Dummy, and now Soundbear will follow suit. As a result, Ajax popping that one, and would be enough to secure this point, as so far Badger will still answer with the Transcendence. Timing out, though, means that Kester is going to look for a kill. Will be unsuccessful, but so far it's a 1-for-1 trade as Decod popped the Primal Rage, getting a kill onto Neko. And overall, things might still be looking good here for the offensive side, especially with N64 getting Squala in the end. Self-destruct will be popped. One tick not achieved yet, and with the return fire coming out of Iron, it will push them away for a second. But once more, now they will see the rest of the offensive side regrouping. It will be Badger going down, and they might just finally open up things here on this first point.
Took them a long time to do it, but with the advantage of their spawn being able to close off the choke from anybody coming back for the defense, they're able to secure it. 5 minutes on the clock now. Not a lot to work with going forward for either team. We'll have to see what they can get, you know, initially, just by playing off of their personal ability and just trying to see if they can find a pick. Inlayer is going to be pretty close to having a pulse bomb. It's going to come up in just a moment here, and there it is. And he's going to look more than likely for one of those supports who are in the back left, but he'll actually have to take a Tracer duel first, because Sinker is right on his heels.
We'll see who's going to come out on top, and so far it's going to be Decod, actually dropping pretty low. We'll see him being contested on that high ground. And now Squala getting close to that blade. This is lying in a wait, dashes in. However, we'll manage to stay alive for now, and with it, we'll have said Dragon Blade available in this next team fight, as we'll see the rest of this Last Night's Leftovers squad actually claim one kill. Dummy gets another, and Lair coming in with the pulse bomb, gets one onto Neko, and with those kills, they might open things up onto the point. Kevster having that blade soon enough too is gonna look to contest. Both support ultimates available though for Last Night's Leftovers, means that they should be able to take at the very least 2 ticks. Looking for the third. We'll see whether or not they're gonna overlap said ultimates, as Kevster still not gonna commit to it. Transcendence used on the other side. Now finally popped by Dummy as well, and it is going to be Squall with the nano boost, getting 2, gets a third, and with these kills, they still find the space they need to get this point hold for now.
Anhu forward now as he's trying to find some late kills. Should be able to find it. Ajax shouldn't be able to get away, and Sinker does find both. Backing into the point. Same situation though, where you're looking at about 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes, 2 ticks already achieved right off the bat. A couple ults to come into this next fight with, and not a lot of options for the defense. They have Beat and they have Blade. They also have Self-Destruct. They have both resets. They have the Pulse Bomb again. Look for Inlayer to try to, one more time, put pressure onto that back line that's just kind of insulated in that back corner. Try to take one of those kills if he can.
We'll see the Soundbear already committed, and then later going in for the pulse bomb, but it is going to be Kevster claiming the first kill. And now with this follow-up from the rest of his team, we should see potentially LNL claim the point. Nobody on it for now. We'll potentially see Neko look to contest. However, he's going to be instantly shut down. And with 2 minutes 39 seconds on the clock, we'll still see a pretty good time from LNL too.
Slightly better, about 20 seconds, 23 seconds to be exact. And we will see the defense one more time from Last Night's Leftovers. Potentially, you know, could see it even more than that. We'll have to see how things work out. But at the moment, I'm curious to see how they attack, because what we saw last time was Ajax and Dummy playing off, you know, on that high ground side instead of the opposite, which is what we saw Neko and Badger playing from. But they were really well insulated in that kind of side area, right off the point, up the stairs. where nobody could really push into them because if anybody did, they were met by a defense matrix, they were met by a ton of pressure. Dummy and Ajax just laid into them as well, and you wouldn't believe how much damage some of these supports can do. But if you make them, if you put them in a situation where they have to kill you, they will find a way. And with Ana and Zenyatta especially, they're going to be able to figure that one out more often than not. Fortunately, the rest of the team, fell before that happened, but even still, I imagine that they should be able to make a pretty decent hold, or at least kind of for the beginning, slow things down enough that they're able to take some time off before that second push.
Still very important for this lineup of Full Send as they will look to get a win, or at the very least a draw on Hanamura to stay in the tournament. Of course, remember the team to lose here will be out, so far Sinker will be spotted out by a couple of those orbs coming out of Dummy, but unable to go down means that they will still look to regroup. And Lelaire sitting on top of that high ground to potentially get something done, but it is going to be Kevster securing that first kill onto Sinker, so already things looking good for last night's leftovers, as we will see the rest of Full Send pretty much at the same position as last time.
Iron trying to protect Anhu if he can. Does keep him alive. They get some heals off as well, but Squall falls.
And 64 claiming that kill, still favoring this side of LNL. Dummy getting another one onto Sinker coming back from spawn. And with these follow-up kills too, it's gonna buy that much more time here for last night's leftovers to make sure they do hold onto the first point with 1 minute and 18 seconds left on the clock. Considering the fact that they have so many ultimates soon enough and they available, we'll see some adaptations actually from the other side of Full Send.
I just don't know about this because if they come in with a tank strat, they might have 1 or 2 pushes, but they're going to go in, they're going to be likely contained, and then ultimates will be online. We see the sleep dart coming out. Kevster with the blade already finding some kills. Both supports already down. They'll have to look to try to come back into this one with another push, but there are still options for last night's leftovers with both support ults coming up. Ajax coming back from respawn, but if he can make it in time, they should have a good shot here.
It's going to be very difficult for the other side to really make things happen. Full Send, with a lot of pressure, will have to rely on the likes of Badger, potentially stall things out long enough to make sure he does have the sound barrier, potentially open up things for his team, as you will see now them contest onto the point, but Bionic coming back in is gonna hit quite a few of them. Kevster getting the D-Suit, Decod claims the kill off of the Primal Rage, and it is going to be all about this side of last night's leftovers, looking for the kills, looking to get a full hold with 7 seconds left on the clock. Nobody in sight, as we did see the team kill go through. It will be last night's leftovers looking poised to potentially claim a 2-0 win and advance throughout the losers bracket.
And I'm curious as to why they didn't just jump on Ajax. I mean, he was just a fish out of water, completely exposed and vulnerable, coming back from respawn, holding on to the nano boost that could have turned things, but they didn't need it because they didn't even go for the Ana kill. I mean, they could have easily turned. Sleep Dart came in, got the Reinhardt, made him fall over, Biotic Grenade followed, and because they just didn't go for the Ana off to the side, they weren't able to, get away from the Biotic Grenade and the pressure that ensued thereafter. I mean, little things like that could cost you a map, and as you're staring down the barrel of getting dropped out of the tournament, last night's leftovers have 2 minutes and 39 seconds to take the first tick, and if they do that, you are gone.
And I'm curious to see what they're going to go for here on the defensive side. So far, potentially the Roadhog Narissa with Sinker on the McCree, with Squalla even on the Junkrat. So looking for that tanky dive composition out of their opponents. We'll see whether or not they can play it really well, because as you said, with 2 minutes 39 seconds, only 1 tick is all last night's leftover need to close the series out. It's going to be very difficult for Full Send to make anything happen. And what's your take on Badger actually going for the Mercy too?
Well, there are some sightlines that they can exploit here. It's still going to be something that can be dove on, especially as we see last night's leftovers going for a full dive with Tracer Genji. It's going to be something that Badger's going to have to be very elusive. We've seen it from him before, so it's possible, especially as they have the McCree to kind of help that out a little bit. And as they hold in this little kind of side area, this is something that should work out for them, because they have to get close range to deal with this and push it out. And Junkrat and McCree will be there for the answer every time.
We'll see now. An interesting positioning coming out of the side of last night's leftovers, looking to collapse onto the point. Threats from multiple sides. N64 is going to be able to find the first blood onto Squall a bit. Iron looking to retaliate. Will get the D-Suit Sinker, gets Ajax, but it's still an all-out brawl. 2 for 2 overall. The Resurrect could come through, but not quite just yet, as they might just get punished. But now, with the kills all on the side of last night's leftovers, they're looking to close this one out. Blade out, they're ready for Kevster, and it will be Fulsen knocked out of the tournament.
Last night's leftovers take it. It looked like we could have gone to a map 3, but they battle back into it. Darren Neko just not enough. On their attacking side he was, but not defensively there. And last night's leftovers come up with it.
Really well played by them. But coming up next, it will be no